Hi everyone, Martin here, and welcome to the Inner Loop. On this episode of the Entropy Files, we're going to talk to Alan from CuSi Sound. The Entropy Files, if you're not aware of it, was a project to see if various artists and creators can do something with a 1 hour video that really changes very little over the short time, but changes completely over the hour. Anyway, over to Alan. I'll dive in. I've got 10 questions that I'm sort of
Okay,
posing to everybody that I'm going to pose you the 10 questions and see what you say. Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Um, what did you think this Entropy Files project was actually about?
I didn't know at first. I mean, I understand from what I know of what you've been doing in the past that you do quite a bit of programming around image manipulation. So I understood that that was what was going on. What I didn't realize until later on was how you were doing it in that you were kind of swapping pixels. That didn't I'd already done most of the work before I actually found out that was how you were actually manipulating the images. Um, so I kind of came at it and thought, well, yeah, these very long form videos, very kind of slow morphing. And I saw it as an experiment in image manipulation, but image manipulation over a long evolving time. So it was kind of evolving and morphing images. And that's kind of how I read it, that was what it was about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the entropy side of things, the thought about entropy, came to me a bit later after we'd already sort of started. That was kind of like a sudden realization that this is a change in the entropy of the picture. It's actually just ordering it by swapping stuff about.
Yeah, I remember seeing it was one of the Brian Cox science things, and he was trying to explain entropy and what it was about, and he was doing it on a beach, and basically he'd made a sandcastle which was ordered sand grains, but then you destroy the sandcastle and you've just got thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions maybe of grains of sand, and he was trying to link those entropy to kind of that illustration, which I thought was a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Also, I've visited entropy in the creative area not that long ago. I got involved with an exhibition that had the title Deconstruction.
Hmm.
Um, and so a range of artists from working with a range of media had to interpret that. And I think I did 3 videos in total. Um, but as part of doing that, one of the things that cropped up was AI
Yeah.
and the fact that it's stealing images that artists put out online and kind of without permission almost taking their work.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that people have started looking into now, and this will interest you because it's to do with coding images, is how can you introduce entropy into the image such that when AI goes to recreate the image, what it grabs is corrupted. But when you actually view the original image, the corruption isn't evident. It's not there when you view the image. It's only there when AI attempts to steal it, I suppose.
Yes. Yes. That's
Sorry, I was going off on a bit of a
yeah,
tangent
yeah,
there
no, but
from what we're really talking about. But
well, no, that's the project is about entropy, and yeah, to um, I noticed with these videos, for example, just before we move on, I noticed with these videos that because pixels are changing randomly across the whole screen. The videos become enormous, and YouTube actually really struggles to compute them because when you and I are talking, it's only my face and your face that's moving, and actually the video is behind me is not interesting, is it? But
No.
because the whole picture is moving, it really confuses the YouTube algorithm.
Well, it's struggling. It's all about compression.
Hmm.
I'm probably telling you what you already know, but if something isn't moving, then you compress it, and until it moves, you've
Yeah.
done it. But if you're moving every single pixel on the whole image, then you
Uh,
can't really compress it.
Yeah, it really, really struggles. It really struggles. Okay, question two. I made three videos. I've made better ones actually since, but I made three. Did you have a favorite? Is there one that sort of stood out for you that you thought, oh, that's interesting?
Um, I think that I don't have a single favorite, but each one I viewed it from a different position, as will become evident as we
Okay.
get further into this. So each one gave me a different idea in terms of creating soundtracks that would uh, complement what the image was doing, what the image was
Hmm.
about.
Hmm.
So I don't have a favorite. It was just interesting to see what each one of the videos triggered in my kind of soundtrack mind
Right.
as to what could I do with this.
Something about them, the one which is actually a real image, as it comes apart, it becomes simpler, and actually to the eye, it doesn't look like anything anymore. And the other thing I thought about, the one that starts from random and becomes blobs of color, the entropy is actually in both cases, the entropy is kind of, reducing. They're becoming more ordered. But it's funny how something random just looks terrible and becomes something, and that something which is something, as you order it, it becomes nothing as well. It's kind of weird, isn't it? That
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, looking at it from that point of view,
yeah.
it is. It's
So I was thinking about our world and how kind of there must be a level of order that's actually kind of acceptable and comfortable and we feel good about. And I guess that applies to music as well because we like tones that are kind of almost discordant, don't we? We like, you know, don't we?
yeah. We if we're going to get into
Yeah.
what is music,
Yeah.
we're going to be here for several hours. Um, but again, in the way that I've interpreted the soundtracks for these
Mhm.
videos, in in different ways, uh, the one that starts out as an ordered picture or as a recognizable
Mhm.
picture and becomes ordered pixels gave me a different idea for the approach to the one that appeared to be random pixels that coalesce into a more ordered color scheme.
Mhm.
Um, but as you say, they're both going in the same, as far as entropy is concerned, they're both going in the same direction. But they both give different ideas as to what's going on and what it's all about.
Mm. Okay, next question. Behind you is like Project 12.
Yep.
It's just been gorgeous watching you build that over time on YouTube. Um, there's a synth. It's a Roland, is it? You've got some.
Um, this one here,
Yeah,
it's a Roland System 1.
yeah. Uh,
Um, I mean,
um,
if you want a quick tour of what the equipment is,
yeah,
I
quick.
will
Yeah, just
tell
quickly,
you.
because the question is, which tools did you consider using for this? So, what tools? Tell us what tools you've
Hardly
got.
any of these.
Yeah.
Hardly any of these. What I'm surrounded by. I mean, this is the mixer.
Yeah.
This audio is going actually through the mixer. I've got the studio mic in front of me here.
Oh, okay.
Um, so this is going through the mixer. Basically, what I've done, I've converted what was the spare bedroom. Now that the kids have flown the nest,
Hmm.
into my home recording studio, but it's actually quite small. So everything's a bit cramped. And the more I've built on the synth here, it's kind of things are filled up. I mean, there's bits, you can't see it. I've done quite a tidy image here, but there's stuff strewn all over the place.
We
Um,
never on your videos see behind you. We always see Project 12 in the background. We never see what's behind, which is great. I mean, you can see my junk in all the, you know,
yeah, I mean, there's piles of
yeah,
the
little
little
boxes.
boxes things piled up behind me. Um, One side
Oh,
on this here, there's my latest toy, which I got as a birthday present, is a Behringer TD3MO bass synth. Um, so you've probably heard something that sounds a little bit more like dance music on some of my posts. That's because I got that and I've been learning how to play that.
ah,
So and then this thing here is actually it's just a Yamaha home keyboard I bought years ago.
hmm
It was kind of the last one in the shop and going really, really cheap. That tends to be what I do. I tend to find things cheap and go, right, I'm having that.
yeah.
And most of the gear is either second hand or bought as either a birthday or a Christmas present,
Oh,
um,
okay.
or built by me. Um, so I've got the kind of the modular system. I've got a limited range of synthesizers. I've got the TD3MO. I've got the Yamaha home keyboard, but I use mostly for piano. Uh, the System One, um, and not much else in terms of commercial synths. I've got a Arturia beat step and
hmm
key step for sequence programming. But when it comes to the soundtracks I made for your videos,
Yeah,
if we start with the first one I did, which was Falling Apart.
yeah.
So this was the one with the, I think it was a country cottage type scene
Scene. Yeah, yeah.
that then dissolves.
It's actually Winkworth Arboretum.
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah, that's where it is. It's just a picture across the lake.
Okay.
I'll just put that in there in case anybody's interested. Yeah.
Yeah. Big up to Winkworth.
Yeah.
Um, the on that
Mm.
one, the first thing that came through my mind there was, right, that would lend its hand nicely to field recordings because you're starting off with something that looks like, a country setting.
Mm.
So if we start off with something that sounds like a countryside field recording, and then we manipulate that to create something that's less familiar, looks less, doesn't sound so much like the image we were initially looking at,
Yeah.
because what's on screen doesn't look like the image we were initially looking at. So that was where the complementary aspect of it came to mind. So I had a search around and found a recording that I did. I do a lot of field recording in and around where I live for various other projects. A lot of it is on the convenient chai project side of things,
Hmm.
which is a project that's based more with field recordings and ambient synths, whereas the CuSi sound is a lot more about
Building that.
modular
Yeah.
synths and experimental
Yeah.
type electronic music. But I got these field recordings, and I got one which was a walk through some local woodland, which had got some real nice bird sounds, some
Bird
ambient
sounds. Yeah.
sounds, and a few things going on. I thought, right, that actually works. But it's about 3 minutes, and I've got an hour of video.
That was certainly for me, that was the thought that I'm going to ask people to make an hour of music, which is a huge ask. An hour of music, which is going to be, composed against something is just unfair. Why would I ask anybody to give up, hours and hours of time? So that was my one thought about this project, which was how can you fill the hour without having to spend, hours and hours and hours? And obviously, you're going to tell us how you did it.
I composed it.
Yeah.
I, I again, I'll
Mm,
later on, I'll come on
mm,
to some ideas about
mm,
automation.
mm,
But for this one, I thought, well, in order to make this work, I've actually got to manipulate things and
Mm-hmm.
compose things. So I started out by taking the initial field recording, and then in the music software on the computer, I started to time stretch and repitch the clips. And eventually, what I ended up was I ended up with something, a range of clips that ranged in both length and pitch, but were all in the key of D.
Okay.
So they were actually pitched in, I think it was first, third, fifth, fourth, seventh. I think that's what I did, all in the key of D.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I started to layer them up, what I wanted them to do, I didn't want them to just sound like they were crashing together, because that wasn't what was happening. Things were kind of
Very
coalescing,
gentle.
not
They're very
not
gentle, yeah.
crashing. So I wanted to kind of meld those together. So I started to put together this very long track in the audio software.
Mm-hmm.
Audacity is what I used on the Linux system, and I
Mm-hmm.
started to put this long track together. And as I was putting it together, there was areas where I thought I could actually add some atmospherics there,
Mm-hmm.
something synth-wise, but I didn't use any physical synths. I actually loaded up a VST. It's all the sounds I got from a VST called Serenity, I think it is, which is a software synth.
Right.
And so it's actually quite sophisticated. So I haven't really done much of my own programming on it, if at all. So I've tended to use mostly their own atmospheric presets.
Okay.
But because I knew what key I'd repitched all
The
the
birds.
field recordings into, I could then record synth music, atmospheric synth music that was in the same key. So again, it would complement rather than clash.
I think you did even better than that. I think you actually kind of managed to make the two things almost seamless between these bird sounds and the synth sounds. I didn't really even hear the difference. But I will recommend people to listen to this because I just put it on in the background, and by the time I hit the middle, my jaw had absolutely dropped because it is extremely moving. You really have come up with an amazing piece on this one, Alan. I must compliment you on it because I was really moved by this piece about how it just grows, how it just grows and grows, and towards the middle, you've really added the synth sound, you added these layers, and I think it's the repetition at the beginning. You hear these birds and it kind of repeats and it repeats and it grows and it builds and it builds and yeah, you really, really pulled an absolute blinder on this one, to be honest with you. And I hope people watching this go away and listen to it and just press play because it's great.
Thank you for that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. The
There's
thing
more.
about
There's more about the process. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, the thing about it was that as the picture changed, so the field recording itself changes. And one of the things that struck me as I was putting all this together, and yes, there is a few hours of work in it, but one of the things that struck me as I put all this together is we go from something that sounds like a nice English woodland scene to something that sounds like it came out of the tropics.
Yeah.
Suddenly, these little birds tweeting are strange creatures on some, in some South American jungle somewhere. It's like, wow, how did that happen? Let's work it. Let's run
Mm,
with it.
mm.
And so yeah, that's kind of the idea. So the idea was that it in the way that the original picture of the cottage in the countryside starts to kind of become something else, but without losing, it's not lost anything from its original identity. And the same thing happens with, just because I'm time stretching and repitching the field
Yeah.
recordings, It's still the field recordings. I'm not taking anything out of them. So all the elements are still there. They just don't sound the same anymore, in the same way that in the picture, all the elements are still there. They just don't look the same anymore. So that's where that one came from.
That's, I mean, when I opened the video, when you sent it to me, I opened it, I was like, right, I'm going to hear a bit of Project 12. And it was like, oh my, field recordings. Of course, it makes perfect sense against the image. And it's like, well, that wasn't what I was expecting. Completely not. That wasn't the tool, because the question was about what tools were you considering.
Yeah.
That wasn't the tool I would have considered, but it was like completely and utterly CuSi sound, the convenient chai, the whole thing. It's like this makes perfect sense to me, and yeah, it's great.
I suppose that the tool was the software that
Mm,
allowed me to manipulate the original recording, which again, I say it just
mm.
complements perfectly what you were doing with the image, in that, you've taken an original picture and used software to
Just wash it.
rearrange that.
Yeah.
So we've both done the same thing, just in different mediums.
You've answered the two questions. It's like, what tools did you consider and what was your approach on the first video?
Yeah.
The second one, let's kick it out of the park again. So, do you want to talk about that one?
Okay. So the second one was nowhere.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't know whether you realize what I was doing with the title that I actually put on the front of the video, when it typed up nowhere and then went back, took that out and typed in here now.
I
That's
didn't.
just a rearrangement of nowhere.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I didn't spot that.
So even if you are nowhere at any point in time of being nowhere, you are actually here now.
You're in this moment now. Yeah. Yes. Oh
So that's what
God.
that title sequence at the beginning
Oh.
was all about.
Oh. Thanks for unpicking that because I missed that. It was there, but so okay.
So with nowhere, it set off what it looked like was a screen full of noise. You know, the kind of
Mm.
noise that you get when you turn a device on and you get all what we used to call in the old TV days snow on the
Snow.
screen.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was like noise, right? So the idea was I've got lots of noise I can play with on Project 12.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
no. What I've also, it then kind of struck me that actually it's noise that resolves into something. So just playing noise, which I've done in the past, uh, it's just noise. But noise that again coalesces to become something, radio.
Hmm.
I've got several radios. Some are little Walkmans, some are things like this thing, which I've got kind of got
It's a
bad
bush,
light.
isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a bush, isn't it? It's a bush radio.
No, it's an Akai.
Echo, but there was a bush. There used to be a bush like that. My mum had one. My dad converted it to mains, and then the transformer caught fire.
Yeah. Oh, right.
It used to take those PP9. Is it PP9? The big batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the clips. Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember. I do remember those. Yeah. But yeah, I've got everything from that to something like um, Walkman with a built-in.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
Sony Walkman with a built-in radio. And then uh, I've got other radios kicking around. I used about four different radios, and I used AM and FM wavelengths. I did try to use
Oh.
shortwave, but didn't get anything really interesting. But the point about it was that in the images, every so often, you'd see an area of color come together and it'd resolve itself. And there was
Hmm.
little kind of snippets of
Mm.
starting to see picture radio signals. You get all the noise,
Yep.
essentially mostly white noise, just hissing away. And then every so often you'll flick past something that's a bit of actual broadcast signal. So little points of resolution
There are, yes.
that comes out, and you go, oh, it's gone, and things are kind of all crackly and random noise again. So that was kind of that, and I thought, oh, right, okay. To add a bit more to the interest to the noise, I did use Project 12.
Oh,
I
you
did use
did?
the white noise,
Ah,
and I stuck it through. It went through an MS-20 style low pass filter, and it also went through a Moog style ladder filter. So you've got things that sound more kind of like organic, like wind and waves going
mm-hmm,
on.
mm-hmm.
That kind of gives some kind of points in the noise that you can kind of recognize as
By filtering it, you're doing the same thing. You're almost coalescing it slightly, aren't you? You're doing the same thing. You're kind of bringing it to, because I guess when you blow through your hands, you know, you're filtering it slightly and you're making something like a note or listen to a shell or something, isn't it? It's that kind of thing.
yeah, it's restricting the range of wavelengths that can be accommodated in that space with the VCFs, the
Mm.
voltage control filters. What you do, with a low pass filter, same with the high pass as well, but you have a cutoff, and what you can do, you can sweep the cutoff point. So if the cutoff's over here, then you've got all those frequencies. As you sweep the cutoff, you're getting rid of, and with the low pass, you'll be getting rid of the higher frequencies until you get the low frequencies. And if you do that, then you get something that sounds like wind. Well,
Ah,
sounds like waves actually. If you
yeah.
add a bit of feedback to get some resonance in it, it sounds like howling wind.
You did the art, just slightly going off sideways. You did your art project of the wind and wave machine.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
great video.
Ocean
Again,
breeze.
Ocean
Yeah.
Breeze. Again, if anybody's watching this, perhaps I'll link that below because, you know, that talks into that as well, doesn't it? And
It's
such
the
a
same, yeah,
simple.
it's the same idea. It's a white noise generator and a low pass filter.
Mm.
But yeah. But then I also had the idea that other points of resolution should come in. So what I've done, I recorded before I started with all the synth stuff. I used to record quite a lot of what was essentially prog rock type stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I took clips from a few of my old recordings and interspersed those. Now the point about doing that is that there's no copyright issue because I gave permission to myself.
I was going to ask you about that because obviously tuning into somebody's radio station, it gives you a copyright problem. I didn't realize. That's amazing, Alan. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. I didn't want to. I did once look at, and this will come. This is relevant. I did once look at copyright with stuff by the BBC, and basically, if you use their stuff without paying for it, they'll thump you
Hmm.
with some lawsuit or something. So I avoid all of that. But at the end of that particular piece, you hear something that sounds like wind, and you hear the shipping forecast. Because I couldn't use a BBC shipping forecast when I originally recorded that, which was back in about 20, might have been 2017 or even earlier that I
Hmm.
recorded that.
Yeah.
Um, I actually made up my own shipping forecast and read it myself and then processed it to sound like it came out of the radio.
Oh my goodness.
So at the end of that piece, you've got a bell clanging and you've got the shipping forecast, and then you've got something that sounds like, it just synth music, which is what it was. I re-edited my original recording from way back then to fit that end bit of nowhere.
Oh,
So as the noise becomes more coalesced more into something, in the end,
you've got,
you get something which is recognizable as something else. It's not noise anymore. It's something that's got order.
wow. Alan, you've put a lot of work into this, a lot more than I was envisaging anybody would do. So thank you very much for that. You know, it's really good that you've unraveled some of these elements. Oh, God.
Okay, well, there is a third video, which is the somewhere.
Hmm.
video. My original thought, we've probably run out of time before I do this. If so, we'll come back and we'll
Let's come
redo
back
it.
to it then. But I mean, my thought with these videos was to send three and some people to choose one. That's why my question was, which was your favorite? You've obviously taken on two. I was surprised if when you said, "Oh, I've been looking at the third one." So
Yeah. Well, I it will take me back to
yeah,
my original idea
yeah,
when I heard about what the project was before I saw the actual videos themselves. Because you sent a message out,
yeah, I did. Yeah.
and I read the message and thought, "Oh, right, super long form music. Yeah, yeah, I've got an idea for that." And it probably was closer to what your idea might have been. Um, but when I actually saw those first two videos that I work with, that idea went out the window. It was like, no, I can do this.
Mm.
So we were talking
About
about
number three.
number three,
Yeah,
which is the somewhere
yeah.
video. And I thought, right, I could go back to what I thought was going to be my original idea with number three and see whether my original idea would actually work or not. So to let you in on what the original idea was, use Project 12.
Yeah.
And people, if they've watched enough of my videos, will know that my favorite modules in Project 12 are the drones and the filters. I love a good drone.
Mm.
I've built quite a lot of drones. My latest, here's a plug. My latest video on my YouTube channel is how to build a 3 oscillator drone that has switchable triangle and saw waves on independently on each of the 3 oscillators.
Okay. Yep.
It's a Project 12 version of my little box that I did called the Trisoro drone. The only
Hmm.
difference is on the little box, it had its own built-in low-pass filter. In
Yep.
Project 12, I've got plenty of filters.
You
So
got enough already. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's a bit like guitars.
Hmm.
Enough is one more than you've already got.
Yes. It's a bit, it's a bit like for me with Raspberry Pis.
Ah,
There's
right,
always a
yeah.
Raspberry Pi on my desk. Um,
Uh, anyway, okay.
yeah.
So the idea was that I could probably use drones because
Hmm.
the thought was that with drones, you can set them up um, in ways where you can either have certainly multi oscillator drones. You can set them up so that each of the oscillators is tuned in such a way that they're in harmony.
Yeah.
They're at a recognized musical interval, and it sounds like somebody's playing a nice chord.
Yeah.
So that gives you a nice, pleasant drone. You can then shift them, and depending on how far away from the harmony you're going, you get more and more discordant.
Yeah.
So you can get more different feelings into it. But also, what happens, and if you've ever played a stringed instrument and tuned it one string against another, what you hear as you get closer and closer to being in tune, you hear a beat
You get that.
in the sound. And that is the constructive and destructive uh, interference between the two waveforms. Now you can use that on synth drones to actually take something which is a static sound. There's no external modulation applied to the sound, but it starts to modulate.
Hmm.
Because of the interference patterns, you can create beats. Now, one of the quirks, although I like to call them features, not faults, on Project 12 is that I simplify everything as far as I can.
Yeah.
I'm not an electronics expert, although I'm a lot better these days than when I first started. It's kind of learning as you go along. But I do still try to keep things simple so that other people who haven't been at it as long as me don't feel afraid of having a go, building their own, which is another phrase I
That's
use on on
That's
the.
your ethos. It's such a great ethos. I mean, you've always inspired me with that ethos. You know, in anything I attack, if I'm going to write some code or if I'm going to solder a Raspberry Pi together, it's like, just have a go, just crack on, just get on with it. It's just great. I
And
love
then
your
learn
ethos.
from your mistakes.
Yeah.
When it goes wrong, you learn more about working out how and why it went wrong and how you should fix it
Hmm.
than reading any book or just following a circuit diagram or
Hmm.
a strip board layout, whatever. But that's where you've got to start. You've got
Yes.
to start somewhere. Now, anyway, I said I wasn't going to digress. I already have done. Okay, drones. So the idea was drones, and because of some instability in the analog circuitry that we've got in Project 12, you do as things warm up, voltages drift around. You over a period of time, you may get drifting
Yeah.
on the oscillators,
Yeah.
which will and they won't all drift at the same rate. So you may over time get some variation in
Ah,
that discordance that you're
yeah.
getting.
Yeah.
And also will then change the interference of the waveforms, change the modulation, etc. But also in Project 12, I've got quite a few clocks and quite a few clock dividers, and
Hmm.
there's envelope generators and things. So I thought, well, I could automate this, which I think was pretty much the first idea of how this may be done,
Yeah.
and do some generative.
Yes.
So I had a go at that with what I've got in Project 12, and I think I did about 5 minutes of it and thought, I don't like that. This isn't really doing what I want it to do.
Yeah.
Um, Now I did listen to
Patrick's.
Patrick's
Yeah.
uh, generative pieces. They are brilliant. They really his jazz piece is
Yeah.
awesome. I love that jazz piece.
I think the
Um,
thing about Patrick's is you listen to one, quite sparse, two, oh, there's more going on, and three, it's like, oh wow. He's
yeah,
really the progression of ideas is just superb, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it works really well. But the difference is
Mm.
he's got a Eurorack system there with Eurorack modules
Yeah.
that are more aligned with the generative side
Mm.
of Eurorack. My ethos with Project 12, pretty much from the beginning, is that I'm building an instrument, and an instrument needs to be played.
Hmm.
So the way I describe
Oh.
how I use Project 12 is most of the time I'm having a conversation. I turn it on and it creates a sound after I've set a patch up. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a starting point and
Yeah.
set a patch up, and it creates a sound. So say I set a drone up, we get the drone going. I then ask it a question, if you like, by tweaking one of the frequency pots on one of the oscillators on the drone. And it responds by telling me something different. I then go, oh, right, okay, let's continue this conversation. And I
Oh,
tweak something else.
okay.
So
A
the machine's
feedback.
responding to my input and I'm responding to the machine's output. It's the human machine input
In,
output interface. So the idea was then, right, okay, so let's not basically have it talking to itself.
hmm.
Let's get back to having a
Man in the middle.
conversation, only this time a kind of a more longer
Yeah.
conversation, more considered.
Yeah.
So I decided to have a go at playing the drones
Hmm.
and seeing how I could kind of slow everything down and get it to kind of develop over a longer period of time and take time to kind of step back, let the machine do its thing, rather than tweak something and go, oh, I like that. Let's tweak this. Kind of tweak something and go, step back, let it develop. Okay. Now, if we're going there, we can try this. Right, we're going there, step back, let it develop. So I tried some of that. And so I've done what in terms of what we're trying to do now, is a relatively short piece. It's only 15 minutes long,
Okay.
but it contains a lot of ideas that I think, right, that will work. That I need to kind of develop it to work over 4 times the duration.
We, we can we can with this project. I mean, let's take a. I have got some shorter videos. Instead of if you've got something that's really good for 15 minutes, let's do that. Yeah, shall we move on? Let's say, did you achieve what you set out to create? Because this is we're in that border, we're in that place of like one and two. I think you set out you've already started touching the water with number three, but did you achieve what you set out to create was the next question.
With the first one falling apart, yes, I
Hmm.
was really, really pleased with where that went and
Yeah,
how
me
it
too.
got there, and eventually with the output from that, I kind of sat back and thought, "Oh, that worked."
Yeah.
Um, with the second one, the nowhere, with that one, it kind of developed as I went along. So the idea of using noise generators in the synth turned into using noise generated by radio signals. Snippets of sound then got me thinking, where can I get snippets of sound that I'm not going to get in trouble for?
Hmm.
Um, and that caused me to revisit work that I'd done in a different kind of musical genre a long time ago, and say the end bit, I actually re-edited that to work with this particular piece.
Hearing that now doubles, triples, quadruples the value of that piece for me in terms of from what I heard to now I understand how you made it. It just
Right.
it really increases the value so much. It's amazing. So thank you for doing so much effort on that one. That's well, both of them, so much effort.
And
I mean,
I think taking both of them, what I actually like is that you have got chalk and cheese. They are not essentially taking the same fundamental basic idea.
mhm.
I've ended up with two entirely different soundtracks.
Yeah.
The first one is kind of, you can put that in the background and on Sunday afternoon and have a nice, gentle, well, the second one is a lot more difficult listen. If you're not kind of willing to sit and listen to radios that aren't tuned in for extended periods of time,
Yeah.
then you're going to
It's
think,
definitely more
what
of a
on earth
challenge.
is this? This is rubbish. But if you want to kind of approach it from a, let's hear what's going on, what's in here, what is, all right, initially it's noise. What's
Mm,
in the noise?
mm.
Listen to what's in the noise, not just the noise. And that the they both require a slightly different approach. But again, you were saying with the pictures, you can kind of walk away and then come back and go, oh, that's it. Oh, where did that happen? You can scroll
Yeah,
backwards and forwards. To some extent, you can do that with the soundtracks as
you
well.
can. Yeah, that was really what I wanted to see. Is that possible to have a soundtrack where you can just take it backwards and oh, it's changed. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you hear some, you kind of just, it's going in the background, you pretty much ignore it. And you hear something, you go, oh, what was that?
Yeah,
You go back, rewind.
yeah.
Ah, I hear what that was now.
What did you learn from doing this? Is the next question.
What I've learned is how to um, step back and let things develop
Hmm.
before diving in and let's tweak this knob, let's flick this switch and let's, you know, no, it kind of, and also kind of listening for sounds within sounds. I try to do some of this with the field recording work I do on the mostly on the convenient chai side of things.
Hmm.
You play back a field recording, you've got to play it back several times, and it's the field recordings in Falling Apart. Each time you listen to it, you can hear something different, and it doesn't matter whether it's the original field recording that sounds like a nice English woodland, or a time stretch pitch shifted tropical rainforest. But each time you listen to it, there'll be something else that you go, oh, I didn't hear that last time. And so these long form pieces, both in playing them back, but also in composing them, kind of step back and listen for, don't just hear it, listen to it.
Would you recommend this type of thing to other musicians, artists? Would you recommend this?
Without hesitation. Two things. One is you're always learning, even with a modular synth. People think, oh, it's electronic music. It's machines, you switch the machine on and it makes the music. No, it doesn't. You have to play it's still a musical instrument. You still have to play the instrument. And like any musical instrument, I mean, I've been playing guitar for years. I'm still learning stuff on guitar. I'm not a very good guitarist, but I'm still learning new things on guitar. And same, I've recently played bass. I put something up on, I think it was on the Instagram story. It's a picture of me.
Yeah.
Stood with a bass guitar on an outdoor stage. Each year I get to play a charity event with a pub band and I play bass with them. And it's completely different to all of this stuff, but it's great because it pushes me in a different direction and I have to learn somebody else's music because it's all cover versions that we do. So I have to kind of step out of what I would do here and do something that's still music, but very different. And that's the key. You're always there are always opportunities to learn something new about your instrument, about your approach to music, and about what you feel and think about music. And the stuff I play now, a few years ago, I wouldn't have even sat and listened to it. I'd have written it off. Now it's the kind of stuff that I create and I understand it more because I've been in that creative process. And then the second thing is collaboration is brilliant. If you really want to be creative, and I've done a lot of this. I can't remember when I joined, but it's probably a couple of years back now. I joined a local artist collective, Rotherham Raw. They're an organisation set up to promote creative arts within Rotherham and South Yorkshire. So although I'm more on the border to Doncaster than I am to Rotherham, but we're still within that catchment area. So I thought, well, they're all mostly they're painters and sculptors and people working with textiles. And I thought, well, all right, let's see what happens when a musician turns up. And they just all wanted to work with me. And through that, I've done loads and loads of collaborative projects, which have really pushed me in areas where I would never have gone before. Anything that kind of gives you, because you get a different perspective from people. I mean, things like Ocean Breeze that we mentioned earlier, I couldn't paint that backdrop. I'm useless as a painting. I'm not a visual artist as such. Okay with video, but not with painting. But chatting with Sandra, who did that painting for me, but she came up with other ideas for other things. And it was like, all right, yeah, I can incorporate that. We could do that. And it develops, you get a rapport going. And the result is it often greater than any of the parts that either of you bring to it when you bring the whole thing together.
Yeah. I feel when you collaborate, you have a commitment to finishing as well. That you can't finish, you can't just not do the project.
Don't let somebody down.
I couldn't give up on this now. Oh, Alan, here's a video and we'll talk about it and not talk about it. It's kind of, you have to finish the project when you collaborate with people. I agree with you totally. Any other insights from this whole process?
Looking at what you're doing and then trying to align that with what I'm doing, particularly with electronic music. Although it's completely different mediums and different approaches, it ultimately what we're doing is still, we are creatives. We are creating. We are being creative. And the insight I've got really is that it doesn't matter what medium you're using. It doesn't matter what instrument. Am I using Project 12? Am I using a software synth? Am I cranking up a commercial synth? All of it, provided that there is some inspiration that creates a creative process, that's great. And the other part about it as well is that more and more, each time I work with somebody else in creating something, I realize that's the important bit. That I can sit here, I can create a whole load of music, I can upload it all onto Bandcamp. Nobody listens to it. I mean, I can show you screenshots that proves that nobody listens to it for months on end. But when you kind of get together with something like this, and this is why I like joining the Raw cooperative, is that it gives you a direction, gives you a purpose, gives you an inspiration, and it helps keep that creative drive going. And the more that I do things like these collaborations, whether it's with you, I'm currently working with a poet and a visual artist on putting together a multimedia exhibition. And they're basically, the guy who's a poet is also he plays guitar in rock bands. I mean, we're talking metal.
Yeah.
But he's had me doing piano and cello pieces alongside the other stuff that's going on, and synth as well. So, and then we've got an artist that's illustrating it, and so it's going to be like this multimedia. And I must admit, at times I'm thinking, oh God, what am I doing? Why am I taking that? Yeah. And then there's other times when something pops up and I go, oh, well, that's interesting. And you get the momentum going again. And it's a bit like you said earlier, you don't want to let somebody down.
Yep. Yeah. How long did this process, how much time of your time have you put into this? How long did it take?
Do you want it in hours or days?
Let's go days.
I would say not for an entire day. Obviously, I take like a lot of the time in the studio. I'll have, which is where Modular Nights thing came from, is I'll have had tea, or kind of things will have settled down. Everybody else is kind of off, just chilling, and I'll come in here, shut the door, crank everything up, and away I go. And I can spend 2-3 hours. I have the benefit of being retired, but it doesn't mean that I've got bags of time. They say that when you retire, every day is Saturday. What they don't say is you don't get weekends off. I tended to spend probably about 2 hours at a time, and I've probably done about half a dozen or so of those in putting everything together. So I certainly couldn't do it in one sitting, but pretty much a 12-hour shift.
12 hours, 12. Wow.
But I wanted to do it like that. I didn't want to just turn the machine on and let it run for an hour and then say, here's my soundtrack.
You see, I wanted to just throw this out to people and not consume vast amounts of their time, because it's like, make something generative, press the button, send me the soundtrack. And everybody's come back with like spent much more time on it and put much more effort into it than I was expecting. And that's really generous, and I'm really grateful for that.
But the thing is, I got satisfaction out of it. It's not just me, you've given me a job order, I've fulfilled the order, and now I move on. No, I was invested in it as well, and I got quite a lot out of the process. So it was worth me putting my time into it for what I got out of it, and then multiply that when it gets joined up with what you're doing, and we do things like this as well. It kind of, the whole thing gets even more value and even more returns for everybody involved.
Indeed. Any final thoughts?
This could run and run. Yeah, where do we end with this? I don't think there is an end. I think it could develop. Your idea of the way that you manipulate the images with programmed logic. One question for you: what do you program in?
C. I just program in C,
Are you
which is the
programming C?
which is the fundamental for Unix. Um, I keep sitting here thinking. I was just watching Richard Charles talk about procrastination. I keep thinking about, maybe I should be learning more modern languages like Python and programming the GPU and doing all sorts of really good stuff. But I literally write algorithmic programs that just run on the PC. I don't use any GPU libraries, nothing.
Right,
Everything I write is just written in C, not even C++. None of your objects,
right.
none of
Okay.
your objects.
I
Um,
gave up programming when C and C++ came along because there were other people doing a far better job than me. But I did, as part of my science stuff I was doing, I did a lot of programs for data analysis using Fortran and
mhm.
QuickBasic and things like that. Um, Giving my age away a bit here now, but that was what I was doing back then.
Yeah.
The last time I programmed was probably when I did my master's degree, and that was in '92,
Okay.
and that was all in Basic and Fortran.
Yeah, I was programming BBC Basic in the for work, like in the late 80s. So, I've been writing code since I was born. I grew up
Yeah,
with it. Yeah, I was born with a BBC Master next to me.
yeah, not a bad thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a bit of a vintage programmer and kind of I think that might actually be the unique selling point of the inner loop, is that that's what I do. And really I should do other stuff, but that's what I do. That's what I know and that's what I just love. When, like you say about shutting the door, I have to shut the door for 2 hours. Just a little plug. I put a video up last night of just analyzing the anagrams of numbers for fun.
Yeah, great. That's your creative side.
Yeah.
That's your creativity coming out. All right, you're doing it with numbers and
Mm,
and bits of code,
mm.
but it's still your creativity. I mean,
I
people
do
will look
have
at
a, I
this and
do have
go,
a I do have a piece for this. I do have a musical piece that goes with this. I will publish it once I've published a few of everybody else's. So, and it came out a piece of code. So literally
yeah,
hit the button,
yeah.
10
I
seconds
remember
later.
a while back you did say something about you were writing a piece of music to go with it, but all in
Yeah, yeah.
code, so
You
computer
just
music.
you just press the button and 5 seconds later out came the WAV file. And that's my answer to this. So I will publish that.
Great. I'd love to hear where that goes because that
Well,
again, it's
with
it's looking at the subject and going, right, I'm going to do this,
mm,
and everybody has come at it and gone, well, I'm going to do this, well, I'm going to do that, and it's everybody has their own interpretation, which is great. That I think that out of everything that's come out of this exercise, that kind of, and even with my own view of it,
mm,
I've ended up with three different approaches
yes,
to the same question.
yeah. For the purpose of the video, we've run out of time. We've got like 7 minutes left. For the purpose of the recording, Alan, thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, and thank you so much for all the hard work you put into this.
Thank you for the opportunity to be involved with this project. It's certainly been worthwhile and fun.
Cut.